Hey, what's going on, guys? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today I want to show you the best Android TV for gaming and video. Over the last 2 years, I've had several companies send me tons of these Android boxes. I actually have about 4 of them that I never even did a review on because it just wasn't worth it. A lot of these companies claim 4K playback. The problem is when you get your box booted up, you try to load up Netflix, it does not support 4K. YouTube doesn't support 4K, and it certainly won't do 4K 60 FPS. But the box I'm about to show you will. There are literally thousands of Android boxes on the market right now, and you're only going to find about 10 different CPU combos inside of these boxes. The one I'm about to show you is a bit expensive, but if you're serious about gameplay and 4K video, this is the box you need to get. They range anywhere from $150 up to $250 depending on the configuration you get, but I have the old 2015 version. It is the same exact thing as the 2017 version. It's the NVIDIA Shield Android TV. Now, it's the best Android box you can get, hands down. There's no doubt about it. This is a beast, and this one has been beat to heck by my kids. I've had it on for about 2 years straight. Not exaggerating at all. This one's pretty beat up and it works fine. Now, this is the 2015 version. I like it because it does have an extra USB port and a micro SD card slot. I'm gonna pull the bottom off here. As you can see, the fan is caked with dust in there because this thing has been on for so long. In this video, I want to show you why the Shield TV is the best Android box you can get. I'm going to do some 4K video playback and some gameplay. Unfortunately, my game capture will not capture 4K video from the unit itself, so I have to film that with my camera. But for gameplay, I can use my capture card for 1080p, and that's what I'm going to do. So let's move over now and check out some 4K video playback. Alright, so here we are at the Shield's interface. This is true Android TV. It's running Android Nougat. I'm going to go to my display settings and show you that I am at 4K 60 Hz. So to do 4K 60 FPS plus HDR, I have mine on automatic. First thing I want to show you here is Netflix 4K. Now, if you buy a $25 Android box on eBay or Alibaba or something like that, you will get the phone version of Netflix and you will not have the ability to play 4K. Even if you did, most of the CPUs aren't going to handle it well. The Shield is absolutely perfect for Netflix 4K. Now, I know a lot of people are going to get these Android boxes and load Kodi up on it, but lately I haven't got anything to load on Kodi and I kind of gave up on it. I've been paying for Netflix for a long time and there's tons of stuff on here that I watch. Buffers up real quick. This is 4K. The next thing I want to show you is YouTube in 4K. I'm going to go ahead and start one of these test videos here. I do have Stats for Geeks loaded up on the screen here. We only have one drop frame starting off, and that usually happens when you start a video. 90% of other Android boxes will not even have the option to switch the video to 4K in YouTube. Next up, native playback from a hard drive or a USB stick. This is 4K 60 FPS MP4 Big Buck Bunny. Every other Android box that I've ever tested this on lags so bad. It does not run at 60 FPS, but the Shield runs super smooth. So pretty much if 4K runs on the Shield, 1080p is going to run even better. But a lot of people buy these little Android boxes and want to play some games on them. I'm going to hook the Shield up to my Elgato HD60 game capture so we can capture 1080p 60 FPS, and I want to show you some emulators like GameCube, PSP, and N64 running. Now that we have some 4K video playback out of the way, I just want to show you the specs of this unit. It's the NVIDIA Shield Android TV. We have 3 GB of RAM. Now, it's not the fastest RAM in the world, but it gets the job done. The CPU is the TeknoAXE one. It's an 8-core CPU, and 4 of the cores do turbo up to 2 GHz, but where this thing shines is the GPU built into the TeknoAXE 1. It's a Maxwell-based GPU with 256 unified pipelines. Max speed gets close to 1 GHz. It does OpenGL 3.2, and it blows every other ARM GPU out of the water. I'm about to show you an Antutu benchmark. Now, this is the newest Antutu. This is Antutu 7.0, so a lot of people haven't been running this lately. The Shield was able to score a 224,281. And as you can see, the GPU scored a 133,000. I'm going to compare this with the Snapdragon 835. I have the OnePlus 5 and it runs the Snapdragon 835. I ran the same test side by side, and here's the score I got on that. The Shield did beat out the Snapdragon 835, but the only reason it beat it out is the GPU score. As you can see, the 835 did dominate in every other test, but when we're talking about video playback and video games, we want good GPU performance, and the Shield delivers. I also ran the same benchmark on a top-of-the-line Rock chip CPU. It's the RK3399. Now, these come in a ton of different Android boxes, and they range from $150 to $200. As you can see, the Shield TV doubled the benchmark score of the RK3399, especially in GPU. Now, the RAM was a bit faster on the RK, but they claim it has DDR4. So, those are some benchmarks. Benchmarks are benchmarks. Let's get into some real-world performance. I want to test some emulators. First up, we're going with the Dolphin emulator, and I'm going to be emulating some GameCube games on the NVIDIA Shield Android TV. First one, Soul Calibur 2. This is my go-to test. I will also test out Mario Kart, but I'll have to turn the sound off because I can't mute the music in the game, and it's copywritten music from Nintendo. But Soul Calibur 2 should be good to go. I'm using the Vulkan backend. FPS is listed in the top left-hand corner. This is the PAL version of Soul Calibur 2, so it's only going to run at 50 FPS, but when we switch over to Mario Kart, I will go to 60 Hz so we can see if it will run at 60 FPS. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit and get to some gameplay. Alright, so like I mentioned, this is my go-to test game for GameCube when I run it on any kind of system. This is a hard game to emulate, and as you can see, we're almost at 50 FPS. It's pretty playable. You do notice some lag here and there, but it's amazing to see this running on an ARM chip. Now I'm going to move over to Mario Kart for the GameCube. Now, it runs really, really good, but I do have to turn the sound off due to copywritten music. So when you start this game up, you do have the option to go to 60 Hz, so we can hit that 60 FPS mark. FPS is listed in the top left-hand corner, and this game is fully playable on the NVIDIA Shield Android TV. As you can see, it's running really, really smooth, and the sound is great. Now I want to show you one of the hardest PSP games running on the NVIDIA Shield Android TV. This is SSPP running God of War Chains of Olympus. I am using the Vulkan backend, and it runs really well. We do have some dips here and there. OpenGL runs a little worse, but the guys over at SSPP in December of 2017 introduced a new Vulkan build, and this is what I'm using here. It just works a lot better than the OpenGL plugin. I do a lot of PSP emulation on this channel, and God of War Chains of Olympus is the hardest game to emulate with the SSPP emulator. If it runs this, it's going to run pretty much every other PSP game as long as it's compatible with this emulator. So yeah, you shouldn't have any trouble playing PSP games with the Shield. And finally, I'm going to be doing some N64 emulation here. We're using MuPin64 FC from the Play Store. One of the games that everybody wants running on the Raspberry Pi or any other system is Rogue Squadron. And check it out. It works great on this unit. Over the last year, I've tested pretty much every CPU you can get in an Android box, and by far the NVIDIA Shield Android TV is the best of the best. It is $200 or $179 without a controller. This is by far my most used electronic, except for my phone, because I have that with me every single day. But this thing has been on for pretty much 2 years straight, streaming Netflix, Amazon, and playing all these games here. This thing's been used like a hockey puck by my 2 kids more than once. I found it on the floor a few times with the bottom taken off of it, all the electronics exposed. I just slapped it back together, and it's still trucking. If you guys are interested in picking one of these up, I'm going to leave a link to Amazon down below. I'll leave a link to the 500 gigabyte version also, but I recommend trying to pick up a used old one. It does have the SD card, and it's my favorite one by far. If you guys could, hit that like button and subscribe, and like always, thanks for watching. Real quick, I just wanted to remind you guys that I do have a Patreon, and if you're interested in helping the channel out, I really appreciate it. I also offer monthly Patreon giveaways, so go ahead and check it out. Links in the description.